In this video, we'll be taking a look at how you handle an appointment request. In TherapyZen, a client can go into the client portal and view all the available appointment times that you've created based on your availability. Once they select a time, you're sent a request that you can then approve or deny. If you approve it, it will turn into an actual appointment. If you deny it, the client will be notified and they'll just simply have to reschedule. This video will walk us through the process and allow us to see the interaction between the clinician and the client in the appointment approval process. So you can see I'm logged into the client portal as a client, and I want to go ahead and schedule an appointment. So I start by just clicking this button here, Schedule an Appointment, and that takes me to the appointment request page. The first thing I see is this instruction here to select a therapist, and TherapyZen will always default to the assigned clinician for the client. If a client is being co-counseled by more than one clinician, those clinicians will show up in this list. But in this case, there's just one primary clinician. The next thing the client needs to do is go ahead and select the desired service from this next menu. So if they click here, they'll see there's different services offered by this particular clinician that they can schedule online. These services that you see here are set by the clinician when they are going through and setting up their actual availability. So in this case, this client wants a psychotherapy 60-minute section. I'm going to go ahead and click that. And what that shows me is for the remainder of this week, there are 4 available slots for that particular service. If your client wants to look to the next following week, they just simply click this button here to page through to the next week, and they will find that there may be more available slots in the following week. So to make the actual request, all they need to do is find the time that they desire and click it. And upon doing so, they get this form that comes up that just shows the details of the request they're about to send to their clinician. There's a note here letting them know that once they submit this, the clinician will either approve or deny the request, and then they can just confirm the actual details of the request. So here's the service type, here's the clinician, and here is the date and the time of the appointment request. Once they're ready, they'll just go ahead and click Submit Request. Once the request gets sent, they'll get this little confirmation letting them know that the request has been sent, and they will be notified once it's been approved or denied. And they can go ahead and click OK here, and that will return them back to their client profile. Once they return back to the client profile, there's now a widget called Pending Appointment Request, which will show that request that they just sent. It shows the date that they requested, the time, as well as the status of that request. You can see here it tells us the appointment is still pending approval. So let's switch over to what the clinician now sees and how they'll handle that request and see what actions they can take on that request as well. Okay, so now I'm logged into TherapyZen as the clinician, and I'm looking at the calendar view, and there's a couple things going on here. The first thing I notice is that I have a notification up here in the header. So if I click on that, a notification window pops up and tells me that I've got an appointment request for the service of a 60-minute psychotherapy session on 8/30/2016 at 11 a.m. by the client name, and it's awaiting my approval. So that's the first method of letting the clinician know that they do have an appointment request. The second method is the clinician will also receive an email with this very same information. And this is what that email actually looks like. And what's nice about the email is you don't need to be logged into TherapyZen. If you've got your email configured on your mobile device, your cell phone, you can receive these notifications or be alerted that you've got an appointment request waiting for you when you log back in. Okay, so those are the 2 different ways that you're notified that you have an appointment request. If you look at the calendar, you can see here is the actual appointment request. And what we've done in TherapyZen is we've made sure that the appointment request stands out among all of your other appointments. So looking at the calendar, we see the green slots here. Those are our available times for appointments. And those are the same available times that the client saw in the portal. And you can see I've already got 2 other appointments this week, but they're displayed in this single color here, whereas the appointment request is always going to be shown in this red striped background. That's so it stands out and you can see it and find it right away. So once I'm ready to approve or deny this request, I just simply double click it here from the calendar view, And this will bring up the details of the actual request. So I see the client name, I see the service that they requested, and then I'm given the option here of would I like to accept this request and save it as a new appointment. I can say yes, or I can say no. And if I do say no, I'm given the opportunity to put in a reason for the client as to why I declined this request. It could be anything as simple as a schedule conflict or some unforeseen event that I have to attend, or whatever the reason may be. I can at least let the client know why the reason was declined and maybe request that they try to reschedule a different time. But for this case, I'm going to go ahead and accept it. So I'll click yes here, and once I'm satisfied there, I'll go ahead and click save. And once I click save, you'll see that that request has gone from the red striped background to an actual appointment now. So it's now on my calendar as a scheduled appointment for this particular client. So that's how you handle a request. And what I'd like to do now is let's flip back over to the client view so we can see what the client now sees, how they are notified about this request, and we'll complete this video by walking through the entire process now. Okay, so I'm now logged into the portal once again as the client, and this is after the request has been accepted by the clinician. So just like with the clinician, there are a couple different methods that we notify the client about the request. So the first method is you do see up here in the top of the screen there is a notification for the client, which if they click that, they get the notification window that their appointment request for the service of psychotherapy 60 minutes on this date and time was approved. So that's confirmation that it was approved. The client will also receive an email just like the clinician did about the request. And here's what that email actually looks like coming back to the client. So once again, the nice thing about that is your client does not have to be logged in to TherapyZen or sitting at a computer. They can have their email set up on their phone and receive this notification via email that their appointment has been approved or denied. And then lastly, what happens for the client that they can verify here in the portal is once their request has been approved, you'll notice that there are no longer any pending appointment requests on the profile. You can see that this box is empty, but the actual appointment has been scheduled. So if you move down beneath that into this box called upcoming appointments, you'll see that the request now has transitioned into an actual appointment that they can come here and verify at any time, or as a reminder, just come here and see when the appointment is, see what the actual service type is, and see what the time is. So that is the process of a client viewing the availability of a therapist in the portal, sending a request to their clinician, the clinician getting that request, either approving it or denying it, turning it into an actual appointment, and then finally the client coming back full circle and seeing that request turned into an actual appointment as well.